Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm testing this microphone. I've been trying to tweak this, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on getting the sound from my voice to match up to the sound that's coming when I play videos and things. So it's a work in progress. I'm working on it right now, and I think we're making some good progress. Okay, today you have an XRP that is up over 54%. At 49 cents. Now, I'm going to say again, this has to do, or everybody, the talk on Twitter is that this is about one of these groups that's formed to try to pump XRP up to a certain price on February 1st and all this. That is not something I'm participating in. I understand that everybody is all excited about this kind of stuff. I just don't think I'm here for the long-term investment in XRP. That's what I'm here for. And so these short-term type things like that is not at all what I'm about or what this channel's about. I'm into XRP because I believe that it's going to be a great long-term investment, and I'm not I think that these kind of things are going to get the wrong kind of attention, and that I don't think it ultimately would be a good thing for XRP or any other investment to have these kind of things going on. It's going to get a lot of negative attention. That's what I don't like about it. But again, I do understand why people get excited about that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like watching my XRP go up in value too, but what are the consequences of some pump type thing? That's the thing I worry about. Okay, when somebody's winning, somebody loses too in markets. Okay, I wanted to show you this. I talk a lot on this channel about Greg Kidd, but a lot of people don't understand the significance of this guy. In fact, I call him the man with the Midas touch, because this is a guy that pops up anywhere that there's a great investment. He's in tech. He seems to be popping up, and he has his own hedge fund and all this. But I wanted to show you because I'm going to talk about him in a second. He's in the news having to do with Ripple right now. But this is Greg Kidd's. I would say this is his baby, Global ID, and it talks here about how him and his team are from places like Ripple, eBay, PayPal, AT&T, the Federal Reserve. And by the way, if you've never done it, I actually was playing around with it myself. You can go to, it's global.id. This is their website, and you can download from Google, the Google Store, or from Apple Store. You can download that Global ID app. And basically what it is it sets, you're basically giving it different information about yourself. They're not giving it away to anybody or anything like that, but you're giving it different information. Then you can go and form like groups. Like, let me see what a good example would be. You could have like your own group that's going on a road trip. So like I did, I went on a road trip last week. So you could have a group that's going on, and then within that group, you can share information that you want to share with the people in that group, and then you can pay each other within that. So for instance, when my trip was over, I got back and I owed money to one of the guys for hotel stay that he fronted the money for. So you could pay within these Global ID groups. That's what's kind of cool about it. So anyway, that's the gist of it. There's a lot more to it than that. But if you haven't checked it out, I was in there playing with it this weekend. But and also, this is Greg Kidd's. Look, I'm showing you this for a reason, for several reasons. But I wanted to show you kind of what my thought pattern is on when I'm looking at investing in things in the blockchain space and digital assets. I think that when you spot a Greg Kidd type, it never hurts to look at what a guy like that is investing in. I mean, remember, this guy was I think I'm right. He was one of the first investors in Twitter, Square, Ripple, all these different companies, and Coinbase. So I pay attention when Greg Kidd speaks. So here's his hard yaka. Here's his featured investments. This is his venture capital firm. Coinbase, he's got Ripple on here, Upgrade, Uphold, all these bunch of different type things. But like I notice when I see things like this, he's an investor in Hedera Hashgraph. So that for me puts Hedera Hashgraph, the digital asset, on my radar as something that to consider to be have a legitimate future. Also, and I've seen Greg Kidd mention this one. Where did it go? I saw it on here earlier. Let me see if I can see it. But it's Filecoin. There it is. This guy has brought up, in videos I've watched, he's brought up Filecoin many times. And so this is one of the and you can actually get Filecoin on Coinbase. And I've bought some Filecoin recently, and I bought it because Greg Kidd's talking about it. That's the truth. And then also, he's an investor in what I've talked about on here a lot, Linkto, linqto.com. Linkto is a way for people to invest in private equity around fintech and blockchain. And you can see here that like some of these that are sold, like Ripple, this is private equity in Ripple. They've sold out of that, sold out of Marqeta, SoFi. But if you look at Greg Kidd's hard yaka, a lot of those companies he's an investor in. So again, he's the man with the Midas touch. So this is the kind of stuff I look at. And by the way, if you can go and I have links where you can download the apps for Linkto. And Greg Kidd's, by the way, he's an investor in Uphold. I know that. He's an investor in Linkto, Upgrade. I just showed you. I mean, this guy, if you're looking for ideas, this guy's a good place to look. That's my point. But anyway, I brought Greg Kidd up because I wanted to show you his tweet from this morning. He says, Ripple getting out in front of defining the issues through its Freedom of Information Act request with the SEC. He's got the letter there, and then he followed that up saying, forcing the agency to reveal why it's picking winners and losers rather than putting out clear guidelines and sticking to its mission. Score one for transparency. Now this is the letter. This is the Freedom of Information Act request from Ripple to whatever I guess the SEC. I don't know, Freedom of Information Act officer at the SEC. So they're requesting this, and what all of this is they're basically outlining how Ethereum was created in here, and then they get down to here and they say so Ethereum. They're basically saying so Ethereum was basically had an ICO, and then in June 2018, the then director of Division of Corporate Finance, William Hinman, announced that, in his view, Ether was not a security in its current state, putting aside the fundraising undertaken by the Ethereum Foundation a few years ago, and based on his understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network and its decentralized structure, current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions. In comparing either to Bitcoin, Director Hinman stated that applying the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to current transactions in Ether would seem to add little value. And then it says we are not aware of other public statements. So in other words, randomly in 2018, this guy from the SEC goes to the microphone. It's not an official SEC thing, but I think their point here is that why did this guy go to the microphone out of nowhere and do this? First of all, but where's the documentation? What is it that was going on here that made him go and basically give Ethereum a free pass? And look, I don't think that Ripple's point here is to bash Ethereum or that they don't like Ethereum. None of that. That's not my point either. The point is that you can't just walk to the mic and give somebody a free pass, but you're not giving anybody else guidelines that say, well, why did they get a free pass? What's going on here? So what Ripple has done here is, and then they also point out in here that letters regarding Chinese control of Bitcoin and Ether. Multiple news outlets have reported on letters that former SEC Chairman Clayton received regarding national security related concerns over China's control of Bitcoin and Ether, both digital assets that the SEC has declared are not securities. And so they're pointing out, here's a letter from the Director of National Intelligence, a letter from Tom Cotton, who's a congressman, there's another letter, and then a letter from Tom Cotton again. All right, so now here's their records request. They want all records relating to the when William Hinman went to the microphone. That's the first thing they want. They want all communications with the Ethereum Foundation and or relevant companies, including but not limited to Consensus or individuals in the Ether ecosystem, including but not limited to Vitalik Buterin, Anthony D'Iorio, Charles Hoskinson, and then names all these other people. And then it goes on. All documents, including internal communications analysis and other materials that were prepared and relied upon by Director Hinman or any other current or former division director. And then they want the letters referenced in the above letters that are in custody and control possession of the SEC. They outline all of the letters. Any documents prepared by the staff. Talking about turning this thing around on the SEC. Look, bottom line is something's going on here, and it's not, whatever it is not exactly above board. Now, this is the video from William Hinman on June 14th of 2018. Now, I put a couple of videos together this morning on Twitter, not for the purpose. The purpose of what I'm doing here is not to bash Ethereum, and it's not to hurt Ethereum in any way. That's not my point. My point is that there's no consistency, and it's almost like something, and that's almost the inference that I'm getting from what Ripple's doing. It's almost as if there was something going on politically that had nothing to do with the Howey test or right and wrong or anything else. That's what this reeks of. Watch this, and you tell me. This is illustrating absurdity is what I call this.
Let's put it this way, Andrew. We did not regulate Bitcoin as a security. When people use crypto assets as securities to raise capital for a venture, the SEC regulates that. And what was happening in the ICO craze was people were using ICOs and essentially making public offerings of securities without registering them with the SEC.
Well, I'll talk a bit about the funding model. So we will have a fundraiser for 2 months starting February 1st. It will be available at funds.ethereum.org. So the idea is that part of the initial issuance will be 1,000 Ether for 1 Bitcoin, or up to 2,000 Ether for 1 Bitcoin if you get in early to compensate for the increased risk. So the issuance model is that we will fundraise. Suppose that we hand out X Ether for the fundraiser, then there will be about 0.5x will be pre-mined, and then 0.4x after that will be mined per year forever. So it's this hybrid of the Mastercoin and Ripple model. And
let's put it this way, Andrew. We did not regulate Bitcoin as a security. When people use crypto assets as securities to raise capital for a venture, the SEC regulates that. And what was happening in the ICO craze was people were using ICOs and essentially making public offerings of securities without registering them with the SEC. We determined that Bitcoin.
Okay, now I'm going to play this next clip, and before I play it, I want to make sure you all understand out there. I am well aware, more than aware, that what the SEC said when they came out and said this. I'm more than aware that they basically said that Ethereum was a security when they did an ICO, but now it's become not a security, and that was the only way that they could try to rationalize this. But what I'm saying to you is that is BS, because here's the overall point. There's some reason that they're not issuing specific guidelines. Why would you not? You can't. What they're doing is they're picking and choosing winners, almost, and it feels political, because when you're not giving any kind of guidelines, and then you pull what they did on Ripple and let Ripple do this for 8 years, and they don't say a word, and then all of a sudden you're going to try to, enforce something on them. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't pass the smell test. It reeks, in fact. Now, listen to this.
Moreover, putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether.
Putting aside the fundraising? Well, putting aside the fundraising, that's like saying putting aside the Howey test and what makes things a security, we decided it's not a security. That's literally what they did. They just came up with their own rationalization for it, but they didn't give any kind of guidance of any sort to, I mean, here's my question. How is it possible for a company like Ripple to work with regulators for 8 years and to have an agency like this that doesn't give them any kind of guidance that they can work with to know what to do or what not to do? That's insane. It doesn't make any sense. When things don't make sense, my ears go up. The flags go up. I smell it's something reeks to high heaven here.
Based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, its decentralized structure, we believe current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions.
Let's put it this way, Andrew. We did not regulate Bitcoin as a security. When people use crypto assets,
you don't have to watch that again. But the point is, I'm just further illustrating the absurdity. The first thing the guy says is putting aside the fundraising that created Ether. In other words, putting aside the fact that Ethereum's a security and was issued as a security, this is what the Freedom of Information Act request by Ripple is going to get to. Why did Ethereum get a free pass? Why was the fundraising, quote, put aside? That's the whole point. Now, Greg Kidd, in this 2 minutes and 50 seconds, summarizes the real issues of this whole thing about as clear as it can get, and you need to see this.
Well, to me, this feels like a turf battle. Again, I come from the U.S. regulatory industry, and there's always a question of, like, what does the Fed do versus the OCC versus state regulators? And in this case, the question is, who gets to be the boss of cryptocurrency? Is it FinCEN? Is it the IRS? Is it like some other federal regulator? Or in this case, the SEC is saying, like we want to be the boss of crypto. Yet we don't want to lay out clear rules and whatnot. But this clearly is a chance for them to say, we get to have a big say about how crypto works. Yet at the same time, we don't have the responsibility for putting out a clear set of rules, even though it's been 8 years. And they could clarify, why is Ripple, in their mind, an investment contract, but Ethereum or Bitcoin is not, and also give guidance to all the other companies that are arguably in the same position as Ripple. It could be a Filecoin or a Stellar, Tether, Brave. I mean, those are all companies where there was a stock by the founding company, and then tokens have been issued, and those tokens have been sold to members of the public, and are held broadly, not just by accredited investors. And so, the ironic thing here is, if you read what the mission is of the SEC, it's to protect investors, to maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. If you go through each of those 5 things, protecting investors, is this fair? Is this orderly? Is this efficient? Does this promote capital formation? And in every one of those checkboxes, this action achieves exactly the opposite outcome. Investors have been harmed. This certainly isn't fair, because you can't understand why Ripple and not Tether, or not Stellar, not any of those other lists, or Bitcoin or Ether. You're not making clear what the distinctions are. It is certainly not efficient or orderly. I mean, there's been chaos in the marketplaces. Folks don't know whether to list or delist. There's problems with liquidities. Loans are being called. I mean, if you wanted to create a situation that was a parallel to having Lehman Brothers go down without clear and orderly wind down, I can't think how you could create more chaos in the marketplaces than just to file an enforcement action with no context, on the last day of the commissioner's leadership of the SEC.
He summarized it about as good as you can. Riz XRP sent me this, and this makes a really good point. You all do realize that XRP is a digital asset sitting directly on the open source XRP ledger that anyone can develop and use the asset for any purpose internationally, right? The SEC lawsuit is just perceived to be a major barrier for value of XRP. I see it as a short-term blip on the radar screen. Okay, this Sparky91011 sent me this. We talked the other day about how Volanti Technologies is in joining this FedNow pilot program. So they did a little announcement on it. It says Volanti joins Federal Reserve's FedNow pilot program for instant payments. I wanted to point a couple of things out to you. This is the link to their community blog where they announced this. And at the bottom here, it's written up about this guy, and it says he's a senior director project management at Volanti Technologies. And then down here it says Serenity represents Volanti at the U.S. Faster Payments Council as well as other industry associations. Well, the U.S. Faster Payments Council is right here, and if you go down this list, you'll see a lot of people from major places as you go down. But then you get down to here, Pat Thielen of Ripple is also on the U.S. Faster Payments Council, and this is one of my favorite pictures all time. October 13th, 2015. Lots of interest in Ripple. Ready. Volpe at Volanti. Vijay Ojaraju, Volanti, Chris Larson, and Monica Long of Ripple. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that something about this whole SEC thing just doesn't add up. Thanks for listening.